So I won't bore you with the details, but there's a little bit of information about myself. And I've kind of volunteered myself to do this talk just because it's way out of my comfort zone. So I thought, yeah, what a way to do it, I guess. So it could go one of two ways. We'll see. But yeah, in all seriousness, come and grab me afterwards and let me know what you think. And hopefully you take something away from it. So I'm going to be talking about a few different AI tools, and hopefully you'll recognise some of these logos. Obviously, ChatGPT is there, and that's probably the one I'm going to spend the most time on. But what I want to kind of show really is just how these tools can just help us and aid us with our day-to-day work. So I won't go into a sales pitch as such, but these are some of our kind of typical processes at LION+MASON and some of our deliverables. And what I've done is I've basically been experimenting with AI tools and just seeing, where we can use that. So I've just quickly overlaid kind of where ChatGPT and a few other tools kind of fit. And this is literally the tip of the iceberg. I haven't gone into, a great deal of depth with this. And I'm sure there's a lot more. So to begin with, obviously I'm going to kick off with ChatGPT, and I'm sure you're probably all sick of hearing about this. And like probably hundreds of other people who are doing these talks, I've asked ChatGPT to come up with a title of my talk. So let's have a go. So my first kind of test was really just, I had a good idea of what I wanted to discuss. Obviously we've got a bit of a theme for the event. So my prompt was, give me a talk title that discusses how to supplement your design process with AI tools. And this is what we got. So yeah, design revolution, empowering creativity with AI tools. Not a bad start, to be fair. But let's ask for another. So me being me, literally my prompt was another one. And this is what we got. So design synergy, amplifying your process with AI-driven tools. So that's not bad. I'm quite pleased with that. That's the one I'm going to run with. Just make a few tweaks. So yeah, design synergy, get rid of that. Process, well, I'm going to be talking about multiple processes, so yeah, let's treat that. So here we go. That's what we've ended up with. So that was a really good start, quite easy, painless, better than me kind of spending an hour obsessing over a talk title. So the next test was, all right, so we need a synopsis for this talk. So yeah, again, prompt, write me a synopsis for the talk, amplifying your process with AI-driven tools. That is all I've given ChatGPT. And here we go. This is actually being shorter. There were 2 pages. So yeah, I didn't know where to start with it. But what I did is I thought, well, actually, next time there's a lesson, just put short in the prompt so we don't have, reams and reams to read through. But let's just examine a couple of the paragraphs a little bit closely. So bits I've kind of pulled out here. So we've got staying ahead of the curve is crucial. Designers must explore innovative ways to amplify their processes. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Nice start. And I guess as researchers, designers, that's what we're trying to do. We're constantly trying to stay up to date. I'd agreed, we're open to trying new tools, new ways of working. So yeah, I'm happy with that. This bit here, so enter AI-driven tools, a groundbreaking paradigm shift that has the potential to revolutionise the design industry. That's quite a bold statement, to be honest, but it's not implausible. And just this little bit that I like. I like the fact that it's put John Doe in because it's recognised the dummy name. I think that's quite nice. Well, let's move on. So the talk commences by providing a comprehensive overview of the challenges faced by designers today. So I'm not actually going to kick off with that, but I think it's, again, another good idea that it's suggested. Plausible guess, bearing in mind literally all I've given it is that talk title. And then if we just move on to these bits, which are probably the key bits. So John then demonstrates how AI-driven tools can be seamlessly integrated into the design workflow. Great. And the relationship between human designers and AI tools, dispelling the myth that AI will replace creative professionals. Much better, much more what I kind of want to talk about today. And you can see it's generated quite a lot of content there, but in a matter of minutes, I can pull out the key bits that I like, and I've got my synopsis. So that's all well and good. That's quite an easy ask of AI tools. So now I want to kind of look at how we can actually use it in our day-to-day work. So I've shortened some of the outputs just for the purposes of the presentation, but hopefully you kind of get the general gist. So let's assume that we're going to do a competitor analysis for B&Q. And again, let's assume I don't know much about B&Q. So let's ask ChatGPT to kind of help me. So my prompts, direct competitors to B&Q in the UK market. And here we go. This is what it's churned out. So there's some names that I recognise, but if I didn't, I can kind of research them. So we've got Wix, Homebase, Screwfix, Travis Perkins. Kind of, yeah, as I say, what I would expect to see. And one thing that is quite important is it's saying as of my last update in 2021, in September 2021. So I believe there's a paid plan now for ChatGPT, which might give you more recent research, but it's just nice that it's telling me that it's not, I guess, current. And I think what's important here is we work across a lot of different industries, and a lot of industries that I know nothing about, but I need to get up to speed, and I need to get up to speed quickly. So just as a starting point, I could do this for an industry I don't know much about, and at least when I go into those kind of workshops or stakeholder interviews, I'm armed with at least something that kind of acts as a conversation starter. So I have some kind of understanding, and I can then work out, how valid that is as we begin those discussions. So yeah, as I say, I'm not saying take this for verbatim. It's just a good starting point that we can go away and validate further on. So let's have a look at another deliverable. Is a UX audit. So we do a lot of these just to try and get a good understanding. Like we highlight areas of good and bad practice, and obviously general usability and kind of what people's user experience is. So we've got kind of our own way of doing that, and I'm sure you will as well. But let's see if just ChatGPT can give us some guidance. So yeah, create a usability checklist for a website. And just looking at what's being generated, so we've got navigation and structure, and then we've got some bullets underneath, content and readability, visual design, and there's a few more as well. So yeah, interactivity and feedback, and so on. And I think what's important here is it's not kind of doing that for us. It's just giving you a reminder of things to check. So it's like a checklist almost. And it can also provide a bit of structure. So when it comes back to doing that final report, you could present it in a similar sort of structure. Again, so it's just a little helping hand. And I think what's important is we're not kind of replacing the skills or the values that we bring as UX professionals. Like ChatGPT isn't doing the audit for us, and nor is it going to present it back to the client. And if I was going to kind of give you an analogy for that, like imagine two cooks. So you've got like an amateur and a professional. The professional arguably has more experience, but if you give them some ingredients and a recipe to follow, I suspect they would both be able to come up with a dish. One would taste probably better than the other. And in our case, ChatGPT can provide us with all those ingredients, but it's us professionals who kind of take those and then go away and prepare it. We're the ones adding the flavour, and we're the ones kind of presenting the dish to the pass. So that's kind of how I see it. That's my take on it so far. Other things we can do, so I'm looking at kind of personas here. So I've just said, create 3 user personas for B&Q. And here's an example of one. So we've got DIY enthusiast Dave. He's a 34-year-old IT professional. He likes doing DIY projects on a weekend and during his holidays. And there's some bits around his goals and behaviours and his challenges. So again, not a bad take. It looks quite reflective of a typical B&Q customer. And here's another, which is kind of, I guess, the other arm of B&Q, which is more their kind of garden centre side. So we've got garden enthusiast Grace. And again, bit of background, goals and behaviours and challenges. And not for a second am I suggesting that these are, the user personas for B&Q. But again, it's that conversation starter. It's somewhere to start from. You can go in, you can validate it as you speak to people. You can cross-reference it with analytics and try and build that picture. So again, something you refine the deeper you get into the process. So interview questions. So again, something we do a lot of. Again, you've probably all got your own methods and processes for doing it. But let's assume we're going to ask some questions of a typical B&Q website user. So what we're trying to gain out of this is we're trying to understand their preferences, their pain points, and kind of their overall usage experience. And these questions kind of align to that. So you get a flavour of how often they visit, what particular products or categories they're looking for. And if they're not, then we can adapt that. But again, it's just that starting point. You all know what it's like when you, certainly designers, you have that blank page and you're like, where do I start? At least this gives you something to go off. Another task is scheduling. So this is like, one of the easiest tasks, I guess, but it's just one of them that you've got to think about, you've got to do. So let's imagine we're doing some user interviews next week and we want to do 4 sessions, 1 hour each, between the hours of 9 and 4, Monday to Friday. And here we go, that's what it's churned out. So again, I've got a list there that I can copy and paste, put into my spreadsheet, share with the recruitment team or the client if they're doing the recruitment internally. And just an observation that I've got, which I think is quite nice, is it's just giving you a few reminders here about different time zones or other scheduling constraints. And then something that I've fallen guilty of before is not allowing buffer time between interviews. I've made that mistake many a times, and it's awful because you kind of back to back all day can be long. So yeah, just nice reminders. And if I wanted to just tweak that and go, actually, I want to do 5 sessions per day, then yeah, there you go. Amend the schedule so there are 5 sessions per day, and there we go. So I know that was like a really small task, but it's one that I hadn't had to think about. I had to, spend time working when I'm free, when I'm not free. I've put it into ChatGPT, and it's giving me time to focus on something else, something more important. So that was, I know I've covered quite a bit there, and there's quite a lot to demonstrate in such a short amount of time, but they're just some of the things I've looked at, and you can obviously do a lot more. And it hasn't cost me a penny, which is great. What I've tried to do really is just demonstrate that it just makes your life a little bit easier. That's all it's doing really. I don't know whether does anyone use FigJam? Hands up if anybody uses FigJam. Okay, good. So this is something I've come across recently. Actually, it was after I'd written this talk, so I quickly dropped this slide in. But there's a tool called Jambot, which basically brings the power of ChatGPT into FigJam. So it's currently in open beta and you can use it on any plan. Yeah, there's my plug for Figma. They owe me some money. So next, I'm going to talk about Otter.ai, and it was quite interesting listening to Mike's talk just then, how he's used the tool, Dovetail, I think you said, for transcription. And that's exactly what this is. So this uses, you can do it during the actual session itself, so it records live, real-time transcription, or you can upload videos and you'll then do it afterwards. I've got a bit of a different take on it than Mike, which is interesting. But what I wanted to do was just see how capable it is. So, as Mike mentioned, user interviews are quite resource heavy. We typically have 1 facilitator and 1 note taker when we do interviews. So I just wanted to put it to a test and see how accurate it is, see if it kind of captures the facts, and see if it's actually going to be any quicker for me. So I used a video recording, an actual one that I've imported, and these were the results. So on the left-hand side, we have the AI transcription. And then on the right-hand side, I've basically done a word-for-word transcription, just so you can kind of compare the two. And this was a 46-minute interview, and I'm only doing the first 2 minutes just as a demonstration. So I know typically we would never have a word-for-word transcription, but just so you can kind of see. So first things first, the good thing that Otter has managed to do is remove all the ums, which I'm sure you've heard me say many a time already during this talk. So that's useful, that's a good start. And looking at that first paragraph there, so there's a couple of bits, a couple of punctuation errors, a couple of incorrect words, but largely it's kind of pulled out what I've done in the manual transcription. If we just look at the next one, so I've omitted the details of the person just because this was an actual test, but it struggled to capture the name, but it got their age right. More importantly, it's got the facts that we're after. So it's pulled out that this person's looking to retire. or at least go part-time in about the age of 60 in 9 years' time. So I mean, we were speaking to people who have pensions and equity release. So it pulled out the facts, which is great. Here it's got a little bit confused. So at the bottom left you can see there's a bit of a question mark at 41 seconds there. It's not really sure who's speaking anymore, which is a bit of a worry. But fortunately you can go into the UI of Otter and you can start amending that and tagging things up, similar to Dovetail. Here we've got a few kind of mistranscriptions of words. So we've got hockey rather than pocket, and it's missed out, etc. And then again, it's got a bit confused here. So where we've got okay, so in terms, that's actually part of the next line, a different speaker. So again, it's got a little bit confused. And here we've got incorrect wording. So we've got, what does it say? Adequacy. It should actually be pensions or equity release. So these are quite important considering that's the subject we're talking about. And then finally here, so it tells me, the interview tells me that they are a primary school teacher, but Otter.ai tells me promised constituent. So yeah, not a great start. Bearing in mind, what are we? 1 minute 46 in of a 46-minute interview. So this is the UI. So yeah, as I say, you can go in, you can edit bits, you can tag things up, and you can get a summary for it. It's quite good in that sense. But I've shown you 2 minutes of 46-minute interviews. Bearing in mind, if you had 25 interviews to do, like, is this going to be quicker or better than having an actual note taker? For me, I don't think it is. I don't know whether it could be like a regional accent type thing where it struggled to interpret it. But I think what's important, like having a human do the note taking, is they can obviously identify sarcasm, they can understand those accents, they can ignore irrelevant information as well. So, say for example your interviewee goes off on a bit of a tangent, which we all know they can. We can ignore that and we don't have to write that down, whereas a tool like this will automatically transcribe that. And if you come to doing your report and you look back and you can't quite remember that interview word for word, you might actually start reporting on something that is just a bit of a tangent and not really useful. So it could start blurring the feedback. So yeah, maybe if you're in a pinch, a tool like this might be good. But my experience with this particular tool wasn't great. But yeah, try different tools. I think the one you shared, Mike, looks pretty decent, to be fair. So finally, the one I wanted to show was Photoshop's generative fill, just for a bit of fun, to be honest. So it's basically a way of non-destructively editing images by text commands. So yeah, here it goes. So here's a picture of me looking absolutely thrilled to be in this particular workshop. So yeah, let's try and fix that a little bit. So I thought I'd start by making myself just look a little bit happier. So I've put a little marquee around my mouth area, and using the marquee using generative fill in Photoshop, which looks like this. So that is a tool. Click generative fill, and then you can enter your prompt. So I put the words change to a smile, and this is what we got. So, okay, so that looks a little bit painful, to be honest. I look like I've had some filler. Well, let's just compare the two. Yeah, not too bad. So now I wanted to try and make sure that I was actually looking at the camera. So again, off I went. Oh, as you can see, I've had some very good drugs there or something. Fortunately, the way in which it works is you can have different variants. So I think it gives you 3, but I think you can go quite into like 12, 15. So let's have a look at another. Yeah, bit better, but still not looking at the camera. I'm actually looking at the ceiling. So finally, here we go. So that looks a bit better. No longer looks like me. I look like a completely different person. But we've actually got a usable image. And let's just remind myself what it was like when I had hair. So I simply typed add hair. And that's what we've got. So Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where it's got that hairstyle from, to be honest. But yeah, let's see if there's any better ones. It's not really improving, is it? Yeah, I mean, a lesson here, maybe be a bit better with the prompt. So I put add hair, but it's picked out probably two of the worst hairstyles I've ever seen. So I've changed it to add short modern hair. And there we go. That's a bit more reasonable. So it looks all right. It's not, yeah, as I say, it doesn't look like me anymore. But it's a perfectly usable image. And if you're using it, I don't know, in a brochure or on your website, well, maybe not, but we've done that in a matter of minutes. And unless you're like a Photoshop whiz, then yeah, you could probably do that manually. But yeah, for people who don't necessarily have the skills, it's quite a good tool. And I think what's important, like throughout my experience of messing around with AI tools, is they're only as good as the prompts we give them. Certainly in the early days, they're obviously going to improve over time. And likewise, we'll improve as well. So we'll learn what prompts to actually put in. And they will learn as well. So there's a reminder of what it looked like before and after. Lovely. So is AI replacing us? Question that's on everybody's lips, I suppose. I know that was a bit of fun, but there is a serious message to this. And for me, like, it's not a direct replacement for our processes. It may be one day, but I think that's, yeah, a long way off. But it's certainly exciting. And if I was going to use kind of one word to sum it up within our industry, it would be supplementary. And what I mean by that is, if we kind of take our existing methods, processes and knowledge and combine that with the power of AI, I just think we can become better professionals. When LION+MASON started talking about AI, I was very kind of skeptical about it. I was on the fence because it kind of felt like cheating. It was like, well, why would I just use ChatGPT to do this for me when I should be able to do it myself? And I kind of soon realised that it's not about, as I say, doing the work for us. It's about just working a bit smarter and using what's available to us and just helping us be more prepared, a little bit more knowledgeable, maybe more desirable. So compare yourself to maybe a UX designer or UX researcher who doesn't use AI. I would probably say the one who has been exploring AI is going to be a bit more of an advantage when it comes to their career. So to quickly summarise, AI like naturally increases efficiency because it just gives us more time to be good at what we do. So problem solving, developing solutions. And we can quickly kind of gather and understand like high level information about an unfamiliar industry, learn about their customers, markets and more. And we can better understand the capabilities. So by playing around with these tools, like a lot of our clients are talking about AI now. And if we didn't explore those tools, we're not going to be able to advise our clients and therefore their customers. So we can have those conversations because we've got experience in it. And there's no doubting how powerful AI is. And I just think that the early adopters are going to be the ones that are going to benefit from it. And of course, there's considerations around cost, time, resource, accuracy. But I think it's just up to you guys to, as I say, take it away and have a play and see if it's something that fits with your processes, see if it helps, see if it hinders. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. I hope you managed to take something away. Thank you.